China and Russia are two major superpowers in the Eastern Bloc, and in my opinion, they are also their own masters. For example, after Russia's annexation of the northeast part of Ukraine, China refused to condemn Russia in the United Nations. This simply shows that China and Russia are currently good allies. And also, a significant portion of China's natural gas imports comes from the Russian Federation. As I mentioned in my previous video, the BRICS, which includes both countries, will have a significant impact on the world economy and may even challenge the power of currencies like the dollar and the euro. However, some researchers believe that these are only temporary interests. Russians and Chinese have been fighting each other for centuries to gain more territory. They have even had border disputes until recently. According to an agreement between the two countries in 2008, Russia transferred about 174 square kilometers of land to China. The transfer took place on October 14, 2008. It is unknown whether this partnership, which includes the disputed Tarabaro and Balsho-Ussuriski Islands as a part of China's borders, eliminates dark history between Russians and Chinese. But based on all this information and historical context, I will talk about why China is actually Russia's biggest threat. If you enjoy this type of content, you can support me on my journey to reach 1000 subscribers by liking the video and sharing it with your friends. In today's world, Russia and China are establishing close relations to protect their own interest in the face of a negative global image and sanctions imposed on them. Russia, especially in Ukraine, seeks to maintain its interest in Eastern Europe, while China attempts to regain control over Taiwan and aims to establish superiority over the United States in the Pacific. Both countries have displayed aggressive attitudes, making it crucial for them to maintain good relations with each other. However, according to Western researchers, this situation may not last long. Russia is embroiled in a comprehensive war, and its economy is no longer as robust as before. The Russian economy has contracted to the extent that it is now roughly the size of Guangdong, the most populous province in China. Russia is struggling to sustain its embroiled economy while needing funds to finance the ongoing war. With almost no remaining trade ties with the European continent, Russia is attempting to obtain cash from China. When looking at the trade between the two countries, approximately 16% of Russian exports are paid in Chinese currency today. Interestingly, this rate was only 0.4% before the occupation of Ukraine. If we consider China's perspective, China lacks significant oil and gas reserves and struggles to sustain itself solely with its own production due to its massive population. Therefore, Russia and its resources are highly valuable to them as well. But what happens when mutual interests cease to exist? That's when China becomes a genuine source of concern for Russia. In fact, even today, when comparing populations and migration, China poses a threat to the Russian population in certain areas. In some regions of Russia, there are more Chinese residents than Russians. However, Russia's primary concern at present is in the war in Ukraine, which has shifted its focus to the country's western side. For a long time, Russians control a significant portion of Eastern Europe, from the Black Sea border to the Baltic Sea. By controlling these territories, the Soviet Union maintained its power in Europe. However, with shrinking borders and difficulty in accessing the Black Sea, Russia exhibits aggressive behavior to maintain its influence there while simultaneously weakening Asia. With China's economic rise, Russia is becoming isolated from the rest of Asia. In the 1970s, the Soviet Union was undoubtedly the major power in Asia. However, following the collapse of Soviet Union, many countries emerged in Central Asia, such as Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, which are now members of the Turkic Council. In the following years, China emerged and made agreements with these countries. It executed infrastructure projects and became the largest buyer in Central Asia, particularly by purchasing the products of these countries. Approximately 22% of Uzbekistan's exports now go directly to China, while in Kazakhstan, this figure stands at 18.5%. Looking back at the numbers in 2000, only 8% of Kazakhstan exports went to China, while 19.9% went to Russia. However, the roles changed in 2020, and today China is the largest buyer with 18.5%, while Russia's share is only 10.2%. These numbers continue to increase in China's favor, and China is already the biggest partner for a significant part of Asia. Simply put, China holds significant power over Russia with its dominance in this region. Thanks to its increasing influence in Asia, China holds a stronger position on its relations with other countries compared to Russia. Almost all Asian countries have been more dependent on China than Russia. So, how did this happen? Despite having been one of the major powers in the recent history, Russia is facing a changing world where China has emerged as a new superpower. Accepting these power shifts is not easy, as countries like Russia are reluctant to become weaker and relinquish their regional power. Do you think the Russians will accept submitting to China, or will they choose to confront China's power? In my opinion, just as seen in the case of Ukraine, Russia doesn't want to give up its status as a military superpower. It is for this reason that China is preparing for this situation. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, both countries have had issues in the past. In 1858, the Qing dynasty in present day, China was facing internal problems that were harming its economy. On the other hand, the Russian Empire was a global power. At that time, the Russian Empire took advantage of the Qing dynasty's trouble for its own interest and demanded a large territory in the north and claimed sovereignty over Manchuria. Reluctantly, the Qing dynasty had to relinquish its territories, and the region that historically belonged to the Chinese dynasties became Vladivostok, which is now one of the most important cities in Russia. This region is currently Russia's largest economic powerhouse in the east. Does this sound familiar to you? Didn't the Russians enter Ukraine claiming Donetsk and Crimea as our land? In the future, China could try to claim territories in present-day Russian geography using the argument that Russia used to invade Ukraine. If there is a territorial dispute, what could be the reason behind of it? Of course, the British. When China lost territories to Russia in 1858, they were under significant pressure. The British Empire was causing major problems on China coast, and various uprisings were occurring in the Qing dynasty territories. Russia took advantage of this opportunity and further increased the pressure on China, seizing outer Manchuria. If the Qing dynasty had rejected this situation, they would probably have faced even more problems. Let's focus on the population distribution in the region. If we take a closer look, China has a much larger population in this region compared to the Russian Federation, while the Heilongjiang province in China has around 38 million people. Russia's population in the region is only 2 million. Considering all these economic policies, China's massive global projects, population superiority in the region, and the past territorial disputes, it can be argued that the real problem for Russia is indeed China. Russia and China's power race is their biggest concern, and while the issues with Ukraine may eventually come to an end, Russia falling behind China in terms of power is a significant problem for them. Historically, Russia has always been in conflict with the Japanese, who are one of the major powers in the region, as well as the Chinese dynasty, and they have tried to maintain their power as a great force. I believe this situation will not be much different in the coming years. Russians and Chinese will either compete with each other to gain power in the new world, or as in the case of the BRICS, join forces to challenge the power of the West. In short, BRICS consists of Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, and together they hold about 1/3 of the world's land area. This project could reshape the global economy. When we look at the economies of the countries within the bloc, I can say that the growth rates of the GDP of these 5 countries have surpassed even those of European countries in recent times. A common currency issued by these countries could have the power to surpass competitors like the dollar and the euro. In conclusion, while Russia and Chinese relations may seem good at the moment, everything can change tomorrow according to their interests. We have seen lots of examples of this in the past. Thank you for watching the video up to this point. Liking the video and leaving comments can help me reach more people. I'm also steadily progressing towards my goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers. With your support, I will achieve this goal. See you in the next video and take care of yourself.